There's a whole lot of fun up here about to happen, and I had very little to do to introduce Mark Ray, except to say when I first said, oh, he's our toy, when we heard that last year, he is in fact our toy this year. He's a toy boy, he's a Teacher of the Year from Washington State. You've maybe read the articles in School Library Journal. He's had just a whirlwind and terrific year advocating on behalf of libraries and teaching and information technology. So it was a real slam dunk to have Mark do the keynote today. There were a few insights into Mark's persona that may not be immediately evident from the lilac and plaid and turquoise blue sock. So I was hoping to just steal thunder and give you, if that kicks in, it's terrific, and if it doesn't, we'll just get started. But Mark continues to amaze me with ways that he puts himself out in public to speak and to share. So if that's not loving, who cares? Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Ray.
In front of you. I've been a teacher librarian for 20 years in Vancouver Public Schools, and I have some of my people here in the back. Vancouver Public Schools, raise your hand. Represent. Shout out. Great. All right. And I've been to many conferences over my career, and I always wondered, what would it be like to be a keynoter? And after I became Teacher of the Year this last year, suddenly I get keynote status. It's kind of like the upgrade, on the planes. And whether you like it or not, it's like suddenly you're doing keynoters. And I remember the biggest keynote, this is actually a small room. The biggest keynote I did actually was earlier this last school year. It was SIPSI, Washington State Information Processing Consortium. Some of you work with the data people in your schools. So one of the things that the Teachers of the Year do now is to go and speak in front of the SIPSI. So I was up at like 7:30 in the morning, and it was a room, there were like 600, 700 people eating breakfast in this ginormous room. The Jumbotrons were 3 times that size. And here I am competing with, hash browns and eggs, and it was kind of tough. A couple of caveats. I just want to we'll get into this in just a couple seconds. First of all, my dress. I want to say something about that. So, for those of you that have known me for some past years, is I have this issue about not, trying to redefine what a librarian looks like, both in practice and in physical appearance. And so, for many years, I think people look at me and like, who the heck is that guy? That librarian really thinks he's a rock star. And you never know. Anyway. But some of you may not know that I've taken on an administrative job, and now I'm the manager of information technology and library services in the Vancouver Public Schools, and so now I'm the man. And so now the chatter is I go into the boardrooms. In fact, I intentionally bought these rock and roll shoes because if I'm going to have to wear a suit, I'm going to have people saying, who is that guy? Oh, he's the guy that used to be a teacher librarian. Yeah, so anyway, so with that said, let's get this going. This is going to be a very active, hands-on, get up out of your feet activity-filled morning. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the overview for what we're going to be doing. First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about how this all is going to work. Then we're going to have an activity called typewriters and tablets. And we're actually going to physically get up and move around because this is early in the morning. Want to get you engaged. Brain science says we've got to do this kind of stuff. So we're going to do it. And then I'll talk a little bit about my desired outcomes for the keynote after we have a chance to kind of get our brains going. Then we're going to have an activity called tablet talking. Originally I was envisioning this being tables. We don't have tables today, so we can still make it work. But we're going to have a little bit of conversation going on through the course of the presentation. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the current states and some future states about where the profession might be going. And then we're going to hopefully continue the conversations going forward. I would really appreciate Craig talking about that word conversation. It is really critical that we are engaged in conversation, not only as a profession, but also with the stakeholders, with our teachers, with our principals, with district administration, with people outside of our community. Those conversations are absolutely critical. So my goal for today really is to start some conversations going. I'm going to say some things you really like hearing, and I'm going to say some things you don't like hearing. And some of you are probably going to walk out at the end of the day saying, I don't like that guy very much. because I'm going to challenge some things, some beliefs that we might have, that some of us might hold, that I think really are holding back the profession. So I'm going to challenge you. But again, the idea is to start a conversation. So once this keynote is done, as the conference progresses and you're having conversations over cocktails or coffee or whatever, I would hope that we could have some deep conversation. All right, so why unkeynote? Well, first of all, I think it's always weird when you go to a conference and someone gets up in front of you and says, this is the way things are, or this is the way things have to be. We live in a very uncertain time, and I'm not sure that any of us really know the way out of that. I certainly don't. I have some hunches. I'll share them at the end of the presentation, but before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about what we think and how we feel. I think it's really important to be explicit about outputs and inputs and outcomes, learning targets, so I'm going to be very explicit about what we're going to be doing as this presentation progresses. In some ways, this is kind of a flipped keynote. So we're going to actually engage in some real-time research here in just a few minutes, and we'll have access to some data. You are going to be posting, any of you that have personal devices, feel free to use them. Post up Twitters. I will have a few other things up so you can post online. So we're gonna kind of flip the keynote. I was really struck. I found an article this last year about how terrible keynotes are and how terrible presentations are when you go to conferences. And they talked about the fact that when you go to these workshops, the lights dim, and everyone kind of mutely just looks at the presentation, maybe pays attention, maybe checks up on their email, maybe is texting their friends, whatever. But they tap into the idea that we really need to be having conversations, that this top-down, I'm in front, I'm going to share all the information with you, really doesn't work anymore, because nobody works that way anymore. I mean, I've got my iPhone, I've got my iPad, I've got my laptop, I'm talking to you. So all of these things kind of happen simultaneously. So it's really important, I think, to have conversation even when we are listening to someone like me talking to you. And then the goal, of course, is some ongoing dialogue and participation. So, a couple ground rules, norms and expectations. I would be very honest about my feelings about the profession and about what I do and what I think needs to happen. What I would ask you to do in just a few minutes when you have some activities, I want you to also be honest. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I want you to be true to yourself in terms of how you respond to those. And in some cases, those are going to make you feel really good. In some cases, it's going to be like, oh, okay. I think it's really important to be explicit about what our beliefs and biases are. All of us come to this profession in very different ways. We all came to it for different reasons. We get up in the morning and go to school, and different things drive us through the day. So I think we need to own those and be comfortable with that, and that's just fine. And I ask you to be actively participating. And I know that for some of you, you thought, oh, great, I can just have my coffee and then sit and go to the keynote and plan my next day. No, you guys are going to be up and working here in just a second. So we'll be engaged. Okay, some tools we're going to be using. We're going to do some physical conversation because I think that's a good place to start. So we'll be doing a lot of that. But we're going to add some back channel communications as well. And I'll talk to you about that when we get to that point. Okay, so this is my expectations view. Please be mentally, emotionally, and physically present. Now, for me, that's a little bit different because I don't mind if you have a device in front of you or if you're typing or something like that. I know for some people that freaks them out. And I think librarians sometimes, teacher librarians, sometimes that really, that upsets the sense of order. I have no problem with that. I do that all the time. I do it kind of discreetly, but I'm okay with that. So if you want to do that, that's fine. But you need to be physically present with what we're doing right now. And then we're going to have you react and talk and respond to some of the things that we're talking about. And like I said, continue the conversation beyond this event. All right. So this is my set. This is the way I'm thinking of this issue. I was in Princeton, New Jersey this last week. It was the last of the Teacher-Librarian events. We went to Educational Testing Service and also had a chance to shoot a video in New York City. So I just flew back from New York City on Wednesday. It's kind of crazy. I actually had lunch with the publisher of School Library Journal. It was cool. And let me tell you, the gnocchi was amazing. It was great. Very nice lady. Very nice lady. We had a nice conversation. It was really cool. The offices, you'd think they'd be really cool because you go into New York and there's all these awesome tall buildings and stuff like that. They're awesome. It was the office. But I did get a picture of all of their book room, where they have all their books. It was a total mess. I mean, librarian, I'm going to have to post this on the blog. Is it like, you look at this, it's like, holy crap. I said, I actually asked him, is everyone going to take a picture of this? You know, so it's going to be out in public. Let me tell you. So anyway, when I was at Princeton, we had this presenter come and talk about neuroscience, advanced technology, and the changes that are facing education. It was an amazing presentation. It scared the crap out of me. And it scared the crap out of the people in the room, because the implications of forces outside of education, so in business, in medicine, in big data, all those things are changing our world dramatically. And I'm not going to do a whole futuristic, future shock thing. But the thing that was interesting is I've been feeling that pain for 15 years as a teacher librarian. I think the teacher librarians are the canaries in the coal mine. They're the first ones to sense, to use another analogy, as a dinosaur, that the temperature is rising. And you're looking around and say, hey, where's Bill? He's not around anymore. It's too hot for him, or too cold. We're not sure exactly what happened to the dinosaurs. But in that room, with the Teachers of the Year from around the nation, State Teachers of the Year, the anxiety was just thick in the air, because they realized how the future is going to change the profession of teaching. We've been feeling it for years. I've been feeling it viscerally for the last 5 or 6 in particular. I know that the changes are coming, and now with other teachers it's going to be happening as well. So these are the questions I wrote. I asked this guy, this Richard Farn guy. I said, how do you grok this? How do you grok all these changes that are taking place? It's overwhelming. Heinlein reference, I think that's right, Craig. Correct me if I'm wrong, that's Heinlein, right? Thank you. How do you pull all this information together? It's overwhelming. How do you overcome the fear and uncertainty? All of these, we feel this. This is on a daily basis with the profession, the changes in technology. How do we deal with this? So I'm feeling this. And if you're feeling it too, then hey, we're in good company. So, now we're going to do an activity called Typewriters and Tablets, where we get up and we're going to actually be active. Okay, so this is my realia of the day. So in the old days, I think in MARC records, you could actually have a category called realia. I'm not exactly sure what it is. So that's my realia. He's not going to say anything. That is actually the typewriter of my father. My father was a teacher for many years. He always wanted to be a teacher librarian. Anyway, that's his typewriter. He passed away some years ago. And I kept that because when I bought him, when we went to Europe in 97, 98, I bought him a computer. And because I wanted to, we wanted to keep in touch with email. And he really hesitatingly used it to do email, but then he would go back and use the typewriter to type his correspondence and the messages to his doctors and that sort of thing. So anyway, here's to you, Dad. All right, so this is what we're going to do. The outcomes for this activity are going to be 2. And I'm going to read this because some of the back might not be able to see it. We're going to validate the history of using technology. The teacher librarians have always been using technology extensively, but I want to point out the need that we need to continue to innovate. And I want to make explicit the diversity of technology usage within this room, okay? And the process is we're going to get up and move in response to prompts. So I'm going to put up the first question. I'll explain how it's going to work here. Okay, so if you all turn around now, you don't have to get up out of your seats, you'll see a Y, and you'll see an N, all right? And now the people in the back, Shelby and company, are going to get really cramped because we're going to have a whole pack of people kind of move back and forth. And I'm going to ask him, give you a warning, I'm going to ask you about 6 or 7 questions, and I want you to move back and forth. You'll notice in the middle there's a black line, and I want you to move back and forth. Now, this is where I want you to be honest, all right? I want you to be honest about what you do or you don't do. Don't try to impress your friends. If I ask you a question about something, it's like, yeah, I do that. I want you to be honest, because I want some real action research in place here, okay? So are there any questions? All you have to do is look up here. I will tell you what to do, what the question is, and we will move back and forth. Are there any questions before we get started? All right, and you don't really need anything except your bodies, unless you want to take notes about what your friends are not doing. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to get to the back of the room, and if you have used a typewriter to create a letter of paper, go to the Y. If you never have used a typewriter to create a letter of paper, you need to go over in the end. And you know what we may have to do? Let's go ahead and you can come to the front too. So basically, this is the line. Okay, so this is the line. When you use typewriter, take a look here. We have
I got it.
A handful of people. I'm not even saying
I'm
handful.
good.
That is a really small.
I got it now. Thanks, Gene.
People that have never used a typewriter to create a letter of paper. That's interesting. Okay, now we're going to have a little migration here. Next question. Do you own a tablet or have a district-provided tablet? Do you own or have one, iPad or Android? Yes, you stay here. No, you go over here. Okay? Do you own or have a district-provided tablet device, iPad or Android? Any tablet. It can't be a laptop. It has to be a tablet. District-provided is okay. Yep. If you own it yourself, that's great. I just want to know if you actually own a iPad or tablet. Okay, we've got a few people still moving. Okay, so quick observation that I'm noticing here is that on the last question, the whole group pretty much was over here having used a typewriter. Okay, so that's an interesting observation to me. Now when we ask this question, we kind of split the group up. So some people that were over here do in fact have a tablet. Okay, so next question. And again, you can think about these things too and have conversations as you're moving back and forth. Okay, have you ever used a laser disc? Go over here if you've ever used a laser disc. If you don't know what a laser disc is, then you haven't used it. Beauty to behold. I mean, it is one big, shiny, beautiful piece of something. All right, so now we got another question. Did you use the internet prior to the advent of the World Wide Web? So that's about 1994. So if you used the internet prior to basically the advertised commercial internet, yes, over here. And I am one of them. I will own that. Did you use the internet prior to the World Wide Web? Yes or no? Okay. So I have a small interesting story to tell. I'm not sure if it's interesting, but I think it's interesting. So when I was going through my studies at Portland State University, I had a summer activity, practical things that I had to do. And so I worked with the one of those education labs, the Northwest Regional Education Lab, and I worked with the math and science program there. And my job for the summer was to be Google. My job was to search the internet, which at that time didn't have advertisements, porn, and stuff like that. And I was supposed to catalog all of the math and science sites on the internet, and we put that into a FileMaker Pro database. And that was my job all day long, was to search the internets. And I found like 115. And my job was done. Okay, so anyway, so I've been there, and that's one of those things, it's like, I'm very proud to say that I've been around that long. Okay, so now, yes or no, have you used Twitter, now this is important, have you used Twitter to do research or follow the news? It's important, the use of Twitter. Yes, over here, no, over there. So examples is checking out on a conference, seeing what the debate feedback was, all that kind of stuff. So again, let's stop and look and see what the numbers look like in terms of kind of the usage patterns. Okay, this is kind of interesting. All right. Again, there's no wrong answers on this. I know it seems like it's like, wow, we got to move around a lot, and I'm moving back and forth. If you're moving back and forth a lot, you're in it. All right. All right. Did you ever use dialogue to do research? Okay, this is really going back in time. Yes, if you use dialogue to do research, no, you're over here. Eric, exactly, Eric, but Eric was dialogue, yes. This one really separates the old timers from the really old timers. I use dialogue and I loved it. And at the time, that was the cutting edge of digital technology. All right, last one. I think this is the last one. Do you blog, tweet, or contribute to a social network? Yes over here, no over here. About this, I think, and there's a lot of I love. I'm really loving this. I hope you're enjoying it. I know you're sorry, Mr. Rand. Good at funny. I'll always be a teacher. Anyway, so this is an interesting. I think the thing that's interesting to me about this is that what this means, if you blog, tweet, or contribute to a social network, you are no longer just consuming information. You're actually creating information, and that's a really important distinction that we make in terms of consuming. We talk about social networks, and we kind of think of it as like, what is social networking? Really what we're talking about here is creating content, creating information, creating ideas, and so on. And that's certainly part of the framework they talk about how students collect and create information. I'm sorry, I should know that. Mike Eisenberg is going to strike me down because I didn't know that right off the top of my head. Okay, and I think that's it. Okay, so now, go back to your tables. We're done with the move around, so go ahead and find your chairs. And we'll try to do that in about 30 seconds. And as you get back to your seat, I'd like you just to grab a shoulder partner, and I'd like for you to have a brief conversation about what stood out for you in this activity as you look to see how our demographics, how our usage patterns are. Have a little conversation. So I'm going to give you about a minute to do that here. Let's do that. How many people are Teacher-Librarians? All right. Thank you. It's been a while since I've been in elementary school. So another option for you that I would encourage you to do, and I'm not going to take time to do this now because some of you have devices and some of you don't. I do have an opportunity for you to post now what you've noticed on WallWisher. I want to do a shout out to Steve and Craig and Shelby and my roller friends that I've been working with for the last 3 or 4 years. I learned about back-channel communications from the Washington Library Media Association, from the people that do this stuff. I was not an active user of digital back channel where people can have conversations while the presentation is going. So WallWisher is a great tool. We're actually using this in our district with students and teachers. It's a great way just to post up on the virtual wall what people are thinking, what people are saying, and that sort of thing. We've been training, Teacher-Librarian's been doing some work with that. We're going to be using that with principals. It's a great little tool, wallwisher.com, absolutely free. So what you can do is go to wallwisher.com/wall/typewriter. That'll pull up the wall on your screen, and then you can post something. Now, one of the things with WallWisher is that unless you're logged in, it's not going to put your name up there. So at the very top where it says anonymous, click and own what you say. So type in, Mark Ray. Actually, my Mark Ray automatically comes up because I'm logged in. So go to wallwisher.com/wall/typewriter. Post it up here. I'm going to refresh this to see if anyone's posted anything except for me. Yeah. And it should be able to, it should show up on your page as well. If you have that. Thanks, Craig. And again, this is a great tool for you to use in the classroom, in the library, to get responses from students. Now, obviously, in many cases, students may not have devices in front of them. Certainly do this in the lab. It's a great tool to use. I think it's a great back channel to use, but have some fun with a conversation. All right, so these are my desired outcomes. This is what I want to do this morning, now that we've got warmed up and our brains going. I think it's important that teacher librarians validate where we've come from and the leadership that we've had in educational technology for decades. Libraries, for many years, have been the place where you can get technology. And the thing that has changed in the last decade or so, is that we are no longer a sole source for the information, for the technology, and the resources in the school. That's gotten past us. And to some degree, that's happened outside of our control. We need to get over the fact that we're not the only place in town that has information and technology. Okay? So the bottom line is that we really do have a rich history of being technology users. The activity that we started off with was intended to illustrate that. So those of you that were using Dialogue, that was the internet, that was doing research on the internet before the internet even really existed. Okay, so those people were pioneers in the work that they did with research online. And we need to kind of reclaim that mantle. I think what we need to do is hold up a mirror to what I'm calling the emerging present. We're kind of at a tipping point right now. And so what has been just recently happening and what is just about to happen, the changes are going to be pretty quick, pretty dramatic. So we need to be ready for those. I want to have a conversation, I want to provoke a conversation about what needs to change. And there's some things that I really think are important that we talk about. And I want to advocate for innovation. I want for teacher librarians to reclaim that mantle of innovation. That they're the cool people that have all the great tools, all the great answers, the information, and they're the cutting edge. Because I think that's important. So, now we're going to do another activity. And I call this, I kind of like the way it looks up there, table, but it's tablet talk. So we're going to do both. We're going to do some face-to-face conversation as well as some real-time communications using visual tools. So my outcomes for this are these. First of all, I want to probe some areas in our programs that may be areas of concern or issue. It's kind of like going to the dentist. You know, I just got back and did the cleaning thing, and they've got the little probes, and it's like, you know, and then of course you just hope that the dentist doesn't find like, oh, I think that filling needs to be replaced. And I have such good home care too. I actually got complimented on my home care the last dental examination, but I still have to have 2 fillings replaced. Anyway, so we do a little probing, okay, and that can be sometimes a little uncomfortable. We're going to hold up a mirror to this emerging presence. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening right now, and then talk about that future practice. And then we're going to do some physical sharing and also some digital sharing. So if you have devices, again, we'll encourage you to use those. And then we'll go over how to do that in just a second. So the way it's going to work is we're going to start off by taking a survey. Okay? So if you have a device, you're going to need to get it out now. If you don't have a device, that's okay, because what we're doing is we're going to get a scan of the room, a pulse of the room. We don't have to have everyone participate. However, if you have a device and the person next to you does not have a device, you can certainly share. We're going to do a Google Drive survey, and some of you probably have used these before. I think this is the best thing since Pan. It's awesome. These are so easy to use. So like in Vancouver, I'll give you an example of how I use this Google Forms. So we're going to be up-teching our libraries. We're going to make sure we have interactive projectors, smart document cameras, and amplification systems. Make sure that all of our libraries in Vancouver have. Some already do, most of them do. We'll make sure that's a standard. So I created this Google survey, and bam, I had all the answers into a spreadsheet just like that. I didn't have to read the emails. It's a great trick. So if you haven't done it before, use it. Okay, so to get to the Google Drive, of course, Google makes these long, nasty URLs. So you need to go to tinyurl.com/WLMA Keynote, and then there's 3 questions, and I'll pull them up here. There we go. That's what it looks like. So to get to that, you're in good shape. And there's 3 questions, and just go ahead and respond to the questions, and then we're going to go through each of the responses in the groups. Hopefully this works, and take a look at that. So go ahead and do that now. I'll give you a few minutes to do it. You should be able to do it on a handheld as well. Laptops, and we'll take, let's say, about 2 minutes to do that. Okay, so the cool thing about this is you can kind of see that very small screen over there. I can't see that far. But it timestamps all the responses that are already coming in, so you can actually have that going while the survey is taking place, and it all posts in real time in your Google Docs. So go ahead and keep doing that survey. I'm going to let this go for a few minutes. I'm not going to wait for everybody to get in there, because the important thing is to kind of look at some trends. Yeah. Then I screwed up. So choose the one that's most representative. Sorry. That's right. That's right. It was 11:30 last night, okay? So, what I'd like to do now is, I'm wondering, one of my wonderings now is this, what I'm supposed to be able to do right now is pull up a summary of responses. I'm not sure if I've given it too many responses or if my laptop's not working. So what I was hoping to do, usually with Google Forms, you're able to get a real-time show, a demonstration of how many people voted for various things. I've tried that about 5 times and it doesn't seem to be working, so my apologies for the inability to show you the data. However, with that said, what I would like for you to do is, regardless of your response, what I would like you to do is let's create a small table. So what I'd like, originally we were envisioning having tables. So I'd like to group in groups of 4, 3 or 4, okay, and do create like a virtual table really quickly, and I'd like you to do a 16-second whip. A 60-second whip means everyone speaks for 60 seconds. You don't engage in conversation, it's each person talks for 60 seconds, all right? And let's make groups no larger than 4, because we're going to take 4 minutes to do this. And what I would like you to do is talk a little bit about why you buy or don't buy print nonfiction right now. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to give you, don't move, just turn around a little bit. Go ahead, first person talks now, and I will signal the change in conversation.
Right now they don't have a computer one-on-one access.
You got 15 seconds, and then the next person is going to speak.
I'm going to say that
some people have already figured it out. We're going to use poll everywhere. The way we use poll everywhere is this. Basically, the first 50 or 40 people get to vote. Everybody else is going to be out of luck. So if you get a message that says, you know, you can't vote, that's because I only have a license for 40. I'd have to pay like $100 to do it otherwise. Anyway, so what you do is you'll text a code. So you use a smartphone or a dumb phone, and you're dialing the number 37607, and then based on this response, just type in then the number that corresponds to your response. Okay, so this is going to be 40 people in the room who are going to have a chance to give us a sense of the room here. The question is how many students use print nonfiction in your library? More than 50% is 712-763. Between 25 and 50%, 712-764. And less than 25 is 712-765. So we got 18 people. I'm going to let it hopefully go up all the way to 40 so we can get a reasonably accurate sampling of the room. And we are just about to approach that magic number 40 when we're going to stop. Okay, so now it's pretty much done. You notice how it locked up really quickly. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about poll everywhere. This is not a new tool. Many people have been using this for many years. I love this tool. It's a great way. I use it in my BYOD classrooms when I'm trying to get a formative assessment. You can use it as an exit slip. There's another really cool tool called Socrative. Make a note of it, write this down. I'm not going to share it with you now. Socrative, SOCRATIVE.com. I am not impressed by technology tools much anymore, because I'm a little jaded. This thing is cool. Basically, it allows every device in your room, regardless of what it is, to be a responder. It is awesome cool. So, Socrative.com. We're not going to use it because I haven't learned enough about it to share it in the conference yet. Okay, so I'm not going to speculate on this, but this is kind of an interesting indicator. How many students use print nonfiction in your library? 63% say more than 50%. 18% say 25 to 50, and 20% say less than 25%. So, interesting. I'm not going to say much about it. We'll just, again, it'll provoke some conversation. All right, our next one, note-taking. So this is going to be really hard for you to read. But the questions were, in my teaching I used the following tools, click all but apply. I apologize for some of you that I didn't include an other on here because there are other tools to be used. So it's no disrespect to any other ways of doing it. But the questions were, I don't regularly teach note-taking to students. Since my Google Docs is not working, even though Steve, I think, tried to get it to work, just with a raise of hands, how many, that's, okay, let's do it this way, flip it around. Okay. How many people do actively teach note-taking in their library instruction? Raise your hand if you do. Okay, I like the honesty, thank you. Okay, so it looks like about half or so teach note-taking in the library. So do you use note cards? Do you use written pen and paper Cornell notes? Do you use Google Docs or Drive? Some people use Cornell notes in a Word document, which is a great tool. Digo, Reddit, or another. How many people use Digo, Reddit, or another note-taking tool like that? Digo is cool. I'm still learning how to use it. So you see this low tech, it works, The hands, when the technology doesn't work, the hands always do. And then, does anyone use Notarize or any other note-taking apps on a, sweet, the coffee? Yeah, all right, here we go for that girl. Okay, so here's the little conversation that we're gonna have around this. So we're gonna have an activity here. And let's do this as a shoulder buddy. Choose a shoulder buddy. If you've had the same shoulder buddy all day long, turn around and talk to someone else. So this is an activity called affirmative inquiry. And what you do is you only think about the positive possibilities. Because we all, it's easy in conversations about change in education. It's like, oh crap, Common Core. What are we going to do about that? Oh man, the evaluation program, what are we going to do about that? Okay, but there's some good things with those things too, right? Those are great initiatives. We're going to have great impact on our practice. But we tend to kind of look at the challenges first. So this is an activity called affirmative inquiry. So if all students have a laptop or tablet, how could or would note-taking change for the better? Okay, it would change. It could have some problems. But we're going to make the assumption if the students have a laptop or tablet. In our district, in Vancouver Public Schools, we have a master plan to have most of the students having devices in their hands probably within the next 5 years. So that's coming. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like. That's our dream. We've got to make some money and pass some bonds and stuff like that, and get a few grants. But that's the vision in our district. That's where we're going. So something like this has some significant implications for districts like that. How many other districts? Just again, we're going to go low tech here. How many districts have a one-to-one classroom or some kind of a one-to-one initiative in their schools? Okay. So these are not outliers. So I would be willing to bet that in the next 2 years, if I was to ask that same question, probably twice as many or more would probably be able to answer that question in the affirmative. Okay, so talk with your partner. Talk with your available partner. If students had a laptop or tablet, how could or would note-taking change for the better? Opportunity for conversation, and then I stop. Thank you. That's what a keynote is. All right. So this next one now, this is again using the exact same tools we've had before. You're going to actually call the exact same number, which is 37607. Now this is a short response tool, so you are able to respond to this question. What are two words, one more, that describe note-taking now? Okay. And then what you do is you're gonna message to 37607, and then you're going to text the number 712766 space, and then type in the 2 words you want. Okay? So try that. See if it works. Let's see if we can get anyone to make that happen. And I'll read them as they come up because this screen is a little hard to see. 2 words that describe note-taking now. So again, you dial 37607, which you really are not dialing. You are searching. Use dialogue. Use dialogue. And then we got someone spotty and plagiarize, synthesize information, copy paste, cumbersome, painful, valuable, graphic organizer, little used, engaged, meaningful. Cornell notes, Cornell baby. random, ineffective, difficult, slow, Jane Schaefer, hi Jane Schaefer, linked bibliography, lecture-based, laborious, unreadable, copy-paste, blown off, isolated snippets, easily lost, copying and pasting, that seems to be a recurring one. Personalized and distracting, unsure hodgepodge. Does anyone watch Project Runway? I will not admit that, my wife does, okay? Even though in spite of what I wear, okay, I just kind of watch it. Anyway, so what's his name? One of the, no, it wasn't Tim Guy, it was, what's the other guy, the designer, what's the designer called? Michael Kors. Michael Kors. Okay, by the way, for the record, on Michael Kors, I had to buy some new suits for this Teacher of the Year thing. Let me tell you, that guy cannot make me ham, man. It made my ass look awful. So, you know, when he criticizes, if you watch Project Runway, and he criticizes, you know, the tailoring of the pants, you call him out. Say, Michael Kors, you can't make a men's pant. I should tweet it, yeah. So, blue -1, unrealized potential, digital, private, dispersed. All right, so that's note-taking now. We got one last conversation point, and then we're going to move on to the next section. The next one is ebooks. So the question is about the use of ebooks in your library. So really the question is do you have ebooks in your library, and in what case, specifically, what do you have and how do you use it? So this is a little bit of an activity here that's a little different. It's a crumple and toss activity. So if you have, this is going to be analog, pen and paper. Okay, so if you don't have paper, there's paper up here on the corners here. Go ahead and grab one. And what I want you to do is I want you to write on a piece of paper one reason that you resist or struggle with ebooks. Okay? And then I will tell you what to do. No action other than that. Housekeeping is really going to be dictated. So write on a piece of paper one reason that you resist and struggle with ebooks. You. Why do you resist or struggle with ebooks? Don't you struggle with them? I mean, I want you to throw them right over here. Just say, we'll go 1, 2, 3. So crumple them up. This is another activity that you can use when you're working with peer groups, even with students, when you are facing some kind of opposition to an idea or challenges. It's just a good physical way to kind of get those out, all right? Now, couple of warnings. Okay, couple of warnings. Couple of warnings. No, I will not be injured, I promise. Okay. So, some of you haven't thrown anything like this for a while. Okay? So don't throw too hard because you might get a rotator cuff injury, all right? So I don't want anyone to walk out of here, you know, and then bill us for, you know, painful damages and, you know, whatever. So I want you just to toss on a count of 3. We're going to toss it over this way, and you guys are going to be actually going to fully bombarded. It's going to be awesome. All right. Okay. Throw it, yeah, basically I'm your target. Oh, there we go. All right, 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's good. That's good. I really wish I knew about that idea. All right. I'm just going to randomly pick up a few of these. All right. All right, so I'm going to read your mouth. This is basically the first time there's ever been a food fight at a library conference. Okay. So I'm going to... Here we go. It's an e-book frustration fight. Okay, so I'm going to read just 3 of them I randomly picked up. One is many platforms. No kidding. Okay. That one is blank. Oh, no, it's really small writing. It says access for all students. Yes. But you know, in my district, when we go to one-to-one, because we are at some point, it will not be an issue anymore. E-readers, lack of, not as hardy as a tablet. Yeah, okay, cool. So, all of this is true. At the same time, I really think that we need to be moving forward with ebooks. That's just my personal opinion. Okay, so now we're going to do a short answer poll everywhere. The question would be is this. It's the last one we're going to do. It's going to be where would you start or build your ebook collection? I need to pull that up. I'll go over that in just a second here. Okay, again, this is the same one where this is a short answer. In what subject area would you start or continue to build your ebook collection? The number is 37607. You're going to text the number 7.2782 and then put in the subject for the area. We'll keep it short. Yes. Oh, okay, so for that you go to polev.com, but it needs to be polev, not pole everywhere. So if you go polev, just like it is up there, right there. Yeah, you have to do polev.com/7004, it should come up. If it doesn't, it's not the end of the world. History, social studies, fiction, classics, oh, we're all over the place. Fiction, social studies. Fiction, interesting. Fascinating. Fiction, AP Lit. Science, popular fiction, history. Simultaneous access, curriculum related. That's an overachiever. Deaf non-fic Common Core. Rock on Common Core. 8th grade CBA for social studies. Yes, targeting a specific CBA, that's a great idea. Because I thought of it. Non-fiction, non-fiction, non-fiction. Wow, there's a strong theme of non-fiction. Special ed.
History.
Textbooks, read aloud. The most popular books currently surveyed. That's what you should do. All right. So, again, interesting. The whole reason I guess I'm supposed to be here is I'm intrigued with the idea of 21st century skills for teacher librarians. We always are talking about 21st century skills for students, which is great. So those have been out there, there's all kinds of different consortiums and organizations that are talking about that. But I'm kind of wondering, what are the essential 21st century skills for us as professionals? What does it mean to be a teacher librarian in the 21st century? What are the skill sets that need to take place? So I've got a few thoughts on that. I'm going to ask for a little bit of feedback, but this is going to be a little bit of kind of some thoughts that I have kicking around on that. First one I think is we need to be unflinchingly digital. Unflinchingly digital. No excuses for using digital. Okay? And I describe that as being an unapologetic, informed consumer, promoter, and producer of technology, digital content, and digital citizenship. And the important way of thinking of it differently is if you think about the food pyramid or that plate thing that they have, the USDA has, is that digital are the fruits, vegetables, and whole grains of the library diet. And that's a shift from where we've been before. Is that needs to be the majority of the consumption of the content in our libraries. So, indicators. If you are unflinchingly digital, these are some of the indicators that you might be feeling or seeing. Principal asks you for recommendations about technology purchases for the school. That's happening. That's good. Students and teachers come to you to know how to use a digital tool that you only learned last month. Okay, the fact that you responded that way is great because that means you know that. You know what that's all about. So great, that's good news. The counter on your website is spinning. Or how many people get usage reports from their online databases? Raise your hand if you get usage reports. Okay. This is a great way to make the case for digital resources in your building. When you have IT guys like me say, I don't need any more money, you go to them and say, no, we're the #1 user of these ebooks in the state of Washington. That's a really compelling argument. Teachers ask for passwords. I had this one wonderful experience a couple of years ago when I was teaching. We have this health teacher that always comes in, and he basically takes over the library for a period of time. Comes in, I did the first period, we use these Gale ebooks. We have some great Gale ebooks for this drug and alcohol research project that he has. I didn't make it back in time for the third period. I was going to be on time, but he was concerned. So he logged me out of the computer on the projector and was showing the students how to use those Gale ebooks. And this is a guy that I would never have imagined doing this. And he said, I can do this. You've done this for 2 years now. You can. So when teachers are using those digital resources, then you're in a good place. Okay, next one, socially adept. What that means is understanding and working effectively in a variety of work groups, including teachers, professional learning communities, district teams, and external groups. You notice that I don't have librarians on that list. It is really critical that we are part of work groups outside of our own small little collection of people. Okay? I love librarians. I'm loving being here this weekend, but we need to extend outside that circle. Leveraging personal relationships to strengthen your practice, program, and profession. Steve Coker, I'm going to do a public call out here. I would not be Teacher of the Year, I would not be writing for School Library Journal if it wasn't for Steve Coker getting me engaged with the things that are going on in Washington Library Media Association and testifying to the legislation. He has been the reason that I'm here in front of you right now. Okay? That's because I had professional and personal relationships that were able to get me to where I am. Being widely viewed by students, teachers, and administrators as positive, effective, liked, needed, and useful. I'm going to tell you a horror story. Teacher of the Year, I will not mention the state. Okay, so I've been hanging out with Teachers of the Year for a few this last year. Talk about a horror story about a teacher librarian in their school that is feared by students and teachers. And if we're laughing, we should laugh nervously because they are hurting our profession. Okay? I talked with another teacher librarian who has a library. The rest of the district is automated. They still maintain a card catalog. Those are coming from Teachers of the Year, their own experience in their libraries around this nation. Okay, so indicators. Libraries full of students even if they're not required to be there. Okay, we're all proud of the fact that the class is coming. If they're packing place, good. Teachers seek you before you seek them. That's a good indicator that you are socially adept. Active part of the building, estate, other groups, teams, and circles, and that you go to happy hours. And first rounds on seashells tonight. Okay. Professionally adaptive. Professionally adaptive. This is, you need to be highly reflective of yourself and your profession. That you are thinking about how you fit into the whole ecosystem of education, your role, how it's changing, and so on. If you are not thinking about that, then we're a little concerned. Willing and able to learn new ideas, techniques, and strategies without external direction. Self-starting innovation and change. And then a perception of yourself as innovative, creative, and inventive. Okay? Indicators of that would be an instruction and program changes not just year to year, but lesson to lesson. That you are challenged but not overwhelmed by change, innovation, new products, tools, and techniques. We all feel the pain. We're all overwhelmed. We just have to get past that. And you consult with or go to other people for help or to find how to do new things. Is that you're willing to extend out beyond that. Instructionally active. This is the most important thing of all. Being a Teacher of the Year this year, I heard very little mention of libraries. When I went to the Capitol, talked with decision makers, libraries were not part of the conversation. Teaching was. Teaching is what we need to be doing. And we all know that in our hearts, but because of all this stuff that comes up, we kind of get it and kind of lose contact with that. We need to be active teachers, and if we aren't, we're not going to have a job for much longer. We need to define ourselves first by being a teacher, and then by being a librarian. We need to use effective instructional strategies. We need to be the best teachers in the school. And I can say, my colleagues, Ron Wagner over there, he is one of my heroes in terms of instructional practice. I've got other people, over there. I mean, I've seen some amazing things go on in his library because he's a great teacher. And then extend that leadership beyond the classroom. You need to move beyond the library. So the indicators, you're teaching more than librarian. You are far more busy teaching than doing anything else. You have a rich role as a collaborator and you coach with teachers. And you're active in school district work and conversations about teaching and student learning. Okay. I'm going to skip this because we are running out of time. I would invite your comments on the blog, Twitter, if you want to. Go ahead and move on to the next one here. I would invite you to do this, and actually make a note of this if you would, please. This is actually going to be active, thewallwisher.com/wall/I-got-skills. So please make a physical note of that. I apologize, we're running a little short. What I would like for you to do is to, if you think of one, add one skill that isn't on that list. And I will get that onto the blog so I can share it out with people. So it's wallwisher.com/wall/I-got-skills in the spirit of Napoleon Dynamite. So wallwisher.com/wall/I-got-skills. I'll also post that on the blog, so if you find my posts, if you don't have that, we'll get there. Okay, so I'm going to close with a couple things. This is going to be the serious part. When I talk with decision makers, with administrators, with teachers, everybody outside of the library circle, I am always positive and I'm talking about what teacher librarians and school library programs can be, without fail. I am always being positive about it. But as I talk to fellow professionals, I'm concerned. I'm really worried. I was asked by School Library Journal to process the data from their survey that they just compiled, and it scared the crap out of me. And I wrote a response to it, I think it's going to go online in a few weeks, about the challenges that we face nationally, okay, in terms of where we are. I think we're facing extinction. I hate to say that in a public place, but I am really worried about that. And it is by forces within our profession and by forces outside of our profession. And we may not have a choice. I am wondering, and these are wonders, I haven't landed on this, but these are the things that keep me up at night, in the words of Joyce Valenza, that the words library and librarian might be a problem. I know with many administrators it is. I know with a lot of decision makers it is. It is perceived as old, it is perceived as backward-leaning, and I see some administrators in the room. That doesn't mean that libraries are not still important. It doesn't mean that teacher librarians are not important, but the name might be a problem. And I will be very explicit here in things that I firmly believe in. So I'm going to own what I believe in right now, and I'm going to share it with the public. This is not about saving jobs for a profession. This is about student learning. If we do not add value to the educational program in our schools, then why are we here? I really believe that. Digital is the new print. Digital has won the war. We can still love our books. We can still enjoy a paperback. We can still have books in our library for students to check out. But the bottom line is digital is the new print, and it will continue to be that way. It's not going to go back. Typewriters, case in point. Technology is no longer imminent. It is immanent. This is kind of a religious philosophical term. It talks about how technology is embedded in everything. We can't refer to it as the other. It is everything that we do, everywhere we live, whether we like it or not. It's not this or that, it's this and that. And I think about that specifically in that tension between print and digital, books and computers. It's both. But like I say, digital is also the fruits, the vegetables, and the whole grains of our library. And last but not least, and this is where I talk about these two examples of teacher librarians around the nation, not in Washington State, because you don't have that teacher librarians in Washington State. You are either the solution or the problem. Is that we have to rise up and be the leaders. We need to be the ones that are the innovators. We need to be loved, respected, be the powerhouses. And as I look around this room, I know that those people are in this room right now. In traveling around the United States, it was amazingly cool to talk about Washington Library Media Association and about the great things that are happening in Washington State. We've got things figured out in the state. We are doing good things. We have more work to do. But I am so proud to be a teacher librarian and to represent Washington State and the great work that we're doing here. And it's because of your work and because of the leadership of Washington Library Media Association. I'm not being paid to make that endorsement. That's something I feel in my heart. So even though I am now an administrator, I am always a teacher librarian, and I'm very proud to be a teacher librarian. So, promise, closing thing here, if you want to get your cameras out. Originally, I was envisioning a power tool of a different sort, but we decided to land on a Sawzall. The motto is, the takeaway here is, we have work to do. Okay? And I know that all of us are already working hard, and we can do more work. So, with that in mind, here's the Sawzall. To do that work, I want you to stand up right now. Come on. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I want to humbly thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you for your participation. I look forward to having continued conversations with you in the days, months, and years to come. Enjoy your conference. Thanks again.